If you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you do read it, you're misinformed. What is the long-term effect of too much information?
Information, I just need some information. I've been dying. Is it lack of education? I've been reading without any transformation. I'm addicted. Is it overstimulation? Hey.
Welcome to the Sixth Sense Report.
Hear ye, come one, come all. You are listening to the Sixth Sense Report with Joel Nikoloff and Darnell Samuels.
Yeah, buddy. Here we go. First time caller, long time listener, but just being silly.
Yeah. You look good, man. You look good.
Try not to get too many bags under my eyes with kids under 4. What can I say?
Yeah. Well, I know, and also, this is the first time the listeners seeing me and you on video. So
it's true.
Yeah, you look good, man.
Maybe they caught an episode of the Anarchist Bible Study that we've both been featured on in video form.
But both of us haven't been on it at the same time. So Sixth Sense Report is officially live
in video.
Yeah.
Hopefully not for the last time. I'm just kidding. But
yeah. So Joel, what brings about this special occasion?
Well, for the listener, I guess also for the YouTube watcher. So for those that are just podcast only, right now this episode is on YouTube. Go check it out. You'll see a video version of it if that's what you're interested in, or if you just want to see what Darnell and I look like because you've been watching from America and you have no idea other than our random graphics. So this episode has come about in a manner of we're going to take a bit of a break, and we thought the way to finish season 5, as we refer to it, is do the last episode on a video format as a teaser for something we want to do more of.
And the show with a bang.
Yeah, and end the season with a bang. Traditionally, we've had to take a break during tax season because my life and responsibilities dictated so. This year, I was able to push through, got a bit of aggressive, and unfortunately, but fortunately at the same time, Darnell's in a place where he's in need of let's say extra time to make sure commitments are met, as well as we don't want to be putting out half effort episodes. So we'll be back in just over a month and a bit. Early July is when we're coming back.
Yeah.
Whether it'll be YouTube or not is up in the air still, and mostly that is right now we're technically recording this on a live stream. Our Buy Me a Coffee 6 cent tier has been given access to this feed. Nobody else has. So, something like that is, for the listener, if you're interested in watching a live stream of this episode or future episodes, hit us up, follow us on Buy Me a Coffee. And let us know if this is something you're interested in.
Yeah. Hey, and Anthony, if you can, man, I'm still getting used to this video thing. My Nike swoosh. You're gonna have to blur it out and put like a 6 cents logo. These guys aren't sponsoring. Let me see if I get my mic blocking.
To cover that
up, man. I gotta get this.
We don't want to sponsor no sweatshops.
Yeah. So these guys aren't sponsoring me. So yeah. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. They're not sponsoring us.
One day. Yeah. So, Darnell, why don't you give the listener a little bit more context as to what's changed, what's going on with you, and why is there a need for taking some time?
Yeah. So I got a job. I recently got a teaching job um, at Toronto District Christian High School. Um, and so that's been consuming my time. And of course, I want to give my undivided attention to it. And yeah, man, it's just kept me so busy that I couldn't, to be honest, I can't even think about anything else. This is like my first teaching job, so official teaching job. So yeah, it's just kept me busy because I'm jumping in the middle of the year. I'm replacing somebody, and so I'm jumping in the middle of the year, and yeah, man, just trying to learn this thing, just trying to learn
Yeah, yeah.
learn this
Well,
thing,
and I'm assuming report cards, exams, just add another level to it that
yeah, and so
want to finish strong, right?
yeah, and so usually for those who've been rocking with us for a while, we usually take a break in March.
Yeah,
And so
March,
behind this,
April, May, sort of get
because
back
of
into that.
tax season, yeah, and so Joel and I were saying, okay, Joel Anthony and I were saying, okay, yo, let's not take a break. Let's just push through and keep the ball rolling. Because usually when we take the break, the numbers kind of drop. So I guess it's out of sight, out of mind. So we're like, okay, let's push through. Let's do something. And so that's what we were doing. And then boom. And then I got the job. And I'm like, okay, let's still try to push through. And then and like you guys would message me with stuff and I'd be missing stuff. And for those of you who don't notice, like like the posting schedule isn't what it once no, I mean we're posting the episodes regularly, but the social media promotion stuff is not as
Where it was
consistent.
once.
Yeah, it's not as consistent as it once was. um even for me, my ability to prepare for episodes wasn't as good as it once was. Yeah, this job just took up all of my attention and focus. So we're like, okay, you know what? Before I burn out and crash, and then we got to end this thing. Um, let's put the brakes on it and put it on hold and wait to the dust settles once school is out for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I mean, I'm we'll see what that looks like, and when your time starts to free yourself up. I would say potentially we record some content during the break, but that gives us a little bit of luxury to do it at leisure as opposed to hit our schedule. And we've always tried from day one that we republish every week when we're on, right? And that's
Yeah.
where my reference to season 5.
Yeah.
The first couple seasons were 20 episodes ish, and then
Uh-huh.
the last 3 seasons have pushed on the 40 episodes each.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's where where this episode is 160. And so for
Mhm.
new listeners who've caught us because our episode with Nick Hudson, or the episodes of ours that obviously have gone beyond our own audiences. If we've gotten some new listeners, our hope has been from the beginning, the vast majority of our
Mhm.
episodes are evergreen. So
Mhm.
I would ask, go back and check out the beginning stuff. You maybe tell us we sucked back then, or
Mhm.
maybe there's things that we could circle back around because there's been new developments or further conversation worth having on some of the original episodes. So that would be we could easily republish episodes on our feed, but I would say if the listeners are looking for something while we're off for the next little bit, go check out sixthsensereport.com or past episodes on your podcast feed. So
Mhm.
I mean, what's funny about us taking a break, at the same time, I'm like, okay, there's an Ontario election coming up. There's the potential WHO health treaty garbage stuff going on next week. There's lots of craziness going on. The one comment I wanted to make about the Ontario election is I definitely don't think we would have chatted about it because I don't know. It just seems like a bit of
Mhm.
a lackluster hype when it comes to the election. In end of 2021, we had the federal election, and then I felt like there was a lot of hype there, with the whole Trudeau stuff, blah, 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 with Doug Ford in Ontario getting reelected, or trying to get reelected, I should say. I don't know. It just seems like nobody cares. I almost expect that, and when I say nobody cares, because they're like, Ford's supposed to be the conservative, and he's basically been, following the cancel mob or the left leaning mob with regards to COVID. And so, I don't know. That's just my 2 cents on that. That's coming up. So, anyways, I say all that to say that I know there's a lot going on, and maybe we'll touch on it when we come back if there's something worth discussing. But like I said, we always try to do evergreen episodes. So the election ones were always sort of like, I don't want to say we felt obligated, but it sort of made sense to do it at the same time, a little bit outside of what we try to do. So coming back around, we figured for this episode, let's chat with Darnell about what that looks like to be jumping into a teaching job, and maybe touch back to the episode where I forgot it. I'm forgetting his name right now. Oh, Vince. What's his last name? Kinsella. I was gonna say, if I tried to say it without you saying it first, I was gonna get it wrong. So with Vince Kinsella, and I'm assuming there's an aspect of his stuff on curriculum with Aslan Academy that maybe you can speak to. Whether or not you've used it, you can see the value in what he's doing. So why don't we start with, how did you get this job? How did it come about? And yeah, what's your role?
Yeah. So the backstory is pretty interesting. So this was like March 10th. So Thursday, March 10th was the deadline for the TD job. So previously, I applied for a job for graduation coach, Black graduation coach, to help Black students in the Halton Hills region stay on track to graduate. So that was the job I was hoping for and praying for, that that might be a better fit for me in regards to helping students graduate on time, Black students graduate on time. And so that job didn't work out. And so now I'm like, okay, so I'm back to the drawing board. And so I was looking job postings, and I found the TD job, and the deadline was March 10th. And so I'm like, okay, I was hoping for the other job, but I missed the deadline for the 10th. And so I was kind of like, doesn't look good to send in an application late, right? There's just, you just look stupid, right? You just look really stupid. And plus they were requesting a philosophy on education and a statement of faith. So statement of faith is one page, and philosophy of education is one page. So it's 2 pages, and it's like Saturday night, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna stay up all night and write this thing. Like, this is like, come on, man. I'm not even gonna get the job. So why am I gonna stay up and write this 2-page paper? And so I'm like, man, I'm like, all right, whatever. Might as well try. And I did it Saturday night, submitted it Sunday. And then, hold on, I have the dates here. And then Sunday, March 13th, I sent the resume. And then Monday, March 14th, principal group called me back the next day. And so then we made a schedule to do a potential interview. Now, this job is for the upcoming September. This is for September. The job posting was for. And so we scheduled the interview for March 22nd. At 1 p.m. Right. So I have a interview March 22nd, 1 p.m. And there was a teacher that resigned that morning. Right. So a teacher resigns that morning.
The morning of your interview.
Yeah. And so I don't know. And so Principal Groots, he's kind of like, you know what, man, I'm a man of God. The Lord works things out in his providence. And so he's like, okay, well, who's going to replace Ryan? Who's going to replace him? And so he's like, okay, well, let me look up this guy, Darnell. And so he liked my statements, but he followed up with my 3 references. And he said this because he told this story to the staff and to the students. Like, never in his life has he ever been able to get a hold of all 3 references for a candidate. Never. And he got all 3 back to back that morning. He spoke to all 3 of them. And 2 out of the 3 of my references are principals, right? Christian principles. And so, and one of them he knows. And so they were like, yeah, Darnell's that guy. And so that morning I woke up like at 9:30, and I do my devotions and I read my Bible and I pray. And so this is like 10 o'clock. I finish and I'm praying and I'm like, Lord, today I got my interview at 1 p.m. Help me to do well. If this job's for me, let it be for me. And then 10 minutes later, principal group calls and he's like, can you start in 2 weeks?
After the interview?
No.
Before the interview.
The interview hasn't even happened yet. The interview didn't even happen yet.
Oh, wow.
Interview didn't even happen yet. So
that's crazy.
Right? So at this time, man. And then,
did you have the interview?
Well, this is the thing, right? So principal group, he said this. He's like, okay, look, I know it's coming at you fast. If you say no, we can still do an interview. We can walk through. We can get to know each other, hang out, shoot the breeze. You can see what the facility is like. Or if you say yes, then when you come in, we get you to sign paperwork. You're meeting everybody. And we're treating you like, you're about to, jump on the team. And so he says, he was being spiritual. He's like, talk to your wife about it. I know it's a lot, make sure you pray. Make sure you. I'm like, look, I already prayed. I prayed 10 minutes ago, bro. I prayed 10 minutes ago. Like usually I talk to Tyra about these things, but I'm sure Tyra will be pretty cool with me. But actually, no, you know what? No, actually, I didn't say yes right away. Because I was holding my cards close to my chest, because I was like, okay, well, what do you have me doing? Right? Because he could bring me on, and then next thing you know, I'm out of my element. Like, I'm doing things that I'm not good at. So then I'm just gonna make a mess for myself and them. And so he said, okay, the things we would have you doing is teaching grade 10 English. I'm like, okay, I read, I write. I read and I write. I've gotten better. Grade 10 Bible. And I'm like, okay, grade 10 Bible. And then he said grade 11 anthropology, sociology, and psychology. And I was like, okay. I'm like, okay, yeah. I can do those. I can do it like that. That's no more, nothing else. I could do those. I can't do anything else outside of that. I could do those, right? And so I went in. I met Ryan, the guy I was replacing, and it wasn't a bad situation why Ryan was leaving. It was just personal reasons. He Ryan was moving up in life. So he was leaving on good terms, and so I was talking with him, talked to a couple other staff. They put me in a room with a bunch of students. Students, I guess they have this process where the students vet you, where you get to meet some of them and
feel them out. Ask you silly questions.
Well, not even silly questions, but what I've learned there is that William, principal group, he respects the students, and the students respect him, and he really listens to them. Like he listens to them. Like the students actually have a voice, right? So if they see me and they meet me and they're like, "Yo, this guy's a jerk," then I probably wouldn't.
Well, and when I say silly questions, I just mean, it's not like an interview, right? Like they're just gonna chat with you, and there's no you're dealing with a teenager asking you questions, kind of thing.
Yeah. So I just met everybody. Saw the facility. I was really impressed with the facility. Very modern. Lot of natural light. Small, but natural light, intimate. And so I started shadowing at on March 28th, and then April 1st was April Fool's Day. It was my first day by myself. which was pretty cool. So my first day, April, on the first day, a student steals my phone. Right, right. The first day, a student steals my phone. Right, so so it was my first day, and I'm excited. I'm like, all right, I'm ready to go, and then so I go to the office because I don't know, when I come back and my phone's missing, and so in my mind I'm thinking, okay, don't overreact, right? Like tap into,
Don't let him see you sweat.
don't let them see you sweat. Like so I'm a former class clown. I'm a former disruptor, right? So I'm trying to tap back into my inner trickster, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, don't let him see you sweat, like you said. And I said, okay, cool. No one stole it. I know. Like these, like you'd be crazy to steal
Brand new
not just
teacher's phone.
yeah, like yo, like that's like that yo, no. So I already ruled that out. I know it wasn't on purpose. I knew it wasn't on purpose. I knew it wasn't malicious and
Yeah,
them
yeah,
trying to
like
ruin me. I just,
yeah.
I prayed. So the Holy Spirit was working. But I said, you know what? These guys are trying to pull one over on me. I'm like, look, you ain't gonna pull one over on Mr. Samuels. I'm like, I ain't going out like that. Like, so I'm like, all right, cool. Just teach the class. I taught it, act like I wasn't missing. And I just taught it. And so this one student, he was acting up. And so, I got mad at him. I said, yo, you go sit over there. Just get up and go sit over there, right over there. Cause you over there, you're making noise. Go sit over there. Class is done. And then the kid that I moved, he goes back to where he was sitting. I guess he was grabbing his bags, and all the guys they're over there, they're laughing, they're cackling, they're looking at me, and then they're going back into their group and they're cackling, and they look at me and they go they're cackling. And that one kid who I called out, he starts running towards the door. He starts running. I'm like, hey, you get back over here, right? So I called the kid over, right? Because I'm like, yo, these guys look suspicious already, right? So then I give him my Tupac ice grill, this one.
Just mean mugging him, eh?
Yeah, and I just look him in his eyes, and I look him in the eyes, and I say, yeah, where's my phone? Now I don't know who has my phone. I don't know where it is. I don't know where it is. I just look at him, just like, yo, where's my phone? And he goes, it's over there. I'm like, get me my phone. Get me my phone. So he brings me my phone. This guy brings me my phone. My phone's in a juice jug. In a Minute Maid like juice jug. There's no juice in it. It's empty, but it's in the juice jug. Right? My phone is in the juice jug. It's empty, but my phone is in the jug. Like, so I'm looking at the juice jug. I'm like, how can my phone fit in a juice jug? I'm like, why is it in the juice jug? And
How
then
did it get in there?
Yo, so now I'm like, I'm kind of like, I'm like, okay. I just said, yo, get my phone out of there. Get it out. And he says, but I have to get scissors. And then so I give him the scissors, and the scissors isn't working. And he's like, I can't get it out, Mr. Samuels. And I said, okay, I'll tell you what. Go to the office and tell him you need scissors to cut Mr. Samuels' phone out of the juice jug. He's like, what do you mean, like right now? I'm like, right now. And the guy goes, cuts it out, brings my phone back, and then he takes off. And I told him before he left, I said, yo, bring me back the juice jug. I want the evidence. Bring me back the juice jug. And he took off with the juice jug. Anyways, I tracked him down. I found him in the class. And I called him out of class. I'm like, yo, come get me show me where the juice jug is. And so he got me the juice jug. And he said, oh, he's like, well, what are you gonna do with it? Like, what are you gonna do with the juice jug? I said, I'm gonna save it for a souvenir, because I thought it was pretty funny. He's like, what? He's like, you thought it was funny? I'm like, yeah, I thought it was funny. He's like, so why aren't you laughing? I'm like, look, man, you can't pull yo, man, I can't show you that you got one over on me, because then I'm looking like an idiot out here. My first day out, like I'm not going out like that. about going out like that. I thought it was clever. I thought it was funny. And I told him, like I thought it was funny. And I said to him, I said, I actually feel like a real teacher. Right. I actually feel like this was my initiation moment where I was like, okay, right. Cause I mean, come on, man. Like what's a teacher without a student trying to get one over on you?
Mhm.
Right. So, I said, yeah, but don't do it again. I'm like, yeah, you do it. Yo, you do it again. Yo, there's going to be fireworks. Like,
Yeah, that's
trust
my
me.
phone.
Yeah. So that was actually my first day. And, yeah, so it was a good joke.
Nice. No, so I like that, man. I know I got the WhatsApp chat picture of that juice jug.
The
So
juice jug. So for the listeners, because the listeners are like, okay, how does that even work? So what he did was it's a Minute Maid juice jug, something like where's my hand?
a
Right,
2-liter jug or a
yeah,
1
something
liter?
like that, like a 1.5, something like big like that, right? Those awkward shaped ones. And so what he did was he peeled the Minute Maid sticker off. He peeled the sticker off and then he cut a slot that a phone can slide through. And so he put the plastic over it and put the sticker
Back on.
over it, back on. So when you're looking at it, you're like, yo, what the heck? Like,
How did it get in it?
yeah, how did it get in there, right? So it was kind of funny. So I still have the juice jug, and I still laugh. Me and the guy, we still laugh. Funny things. So,
Do you have the souvenir in your classroom?
Yeah. I keep it on my shelf. I keep it on
That's
my shelf.
awesome. That's
I keep it on
awesome.
my
Yeah,
shelf, man.
yeah,
So
yeah.
some students be like, "Yeah, why do you have an empty juice jug?" I'm like, "Yo, man, it's just it's a teacher thing, man." So
That's good.
yeah.
So, since you got past the harassment from students, what has the job been like for you? What have you expected? What haven't you expected?
Um, what was unexpected was that I didn't expect that I would like the staff. Like the staff, that it's the staff that sticks out. Because Monday mornings they do devotion. Fridays and Monday mornings they do devotion, prayer, sometimes singing from the hymnal. And so I'm like, a staff that prays together, blesses the kids together. You can't beat that. So and they're pretty close. They're pretty close, and I realize like the school has a deep history. About next year's their 60th anniversary.
Wow.
So like a lot of the teachers went to the school, right? The janitor went to the school, right?
Interesting.
The students' parents went to the school, and some of their parents went to the school.
Wow. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's generational. So I was kind of like, oh shoot, I'm used to public school, man. Right. Like you go to the school that's down the street and that's it. Right.
Yeah. There's sometimes like, oh, my parents lived here too, but not the
Rare.
same.
That's
rare.
but even that's rare. So to even have generations of people with ties to the school was being part of that history was like, okay, cool. So that was a blessing. I really enjoy the staff. They were always looking out for me, and they still are. Like people would pop their head in, like, "Hey, how you doing? Do you need this? Do you need that? Do you need this? Do you need that? Do you need this?" And
Like they want you to succeed.
And even like I have some of my counterparts who are in other schools, and the staff situation isn't the healthiest. I know some people who are principals in the public school, and they're like, "Yo, D." Most of the time it's me, it's the principal breaking up fights between teachers, not even students, right? So and I guess part of it too, I think part of it too is like the Christian school is smaller. People have attended there. It's generational. There's prayer involved, so it's a different dynamic than being staff in a public school. So that's one thing I didn't expect.
What's the classroom size like?
My Bible class is 22, my English class is 20, and my anthropology, sociology, psychology class is 14, and that's a grade 11.
So in contrast to public school, they're usually pushing closer to 30.
Yeah, 25 to 30.
True.
Yeah, so class sizes are pretty decent. But also I also like the grade 10, grade 11. So
Hmm.
there's more depth. There's more depth to the lessons. Where, like, for example, like when I mean depth, I mean like, oh, I gotta teach something. And I'm like, oh shoot. Yeah, I need to go read up on that. Like, oh, you're teaching this? You're like, oh shoot, I gotta read up on this.
Make some notes.
Well, and it's good for me, right? Because now I'm improving, and I'm very big on like getting better. So these classes are forcing me to, of course, one, be prepared content wise, and then the students are very thoughtful. They're
Mm.
thoughtful, so they're asking deeper questions, which is helping me because I'm like, oh shoot, this guy has a good question, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So
Let me get back to you on that one.
yes, yeah. So yeah, so no, it's good. I enjoy it. I say this to people. I'm like, you know what, I I don't want to speak too fast or too heavy, but I love it there. Of course, because the staff and the students are cool too, but also like I get to be myself, which um, you know, there's no disrespect to public school, but in public school, I can't be myself. Like I open a class, I open every class with prayer, I close every class with prayer. I
Hmm.
can be
Hmm.
myself, who Christ made me to be as a teacher. Kind of like but if I'm in the public school, it's like, hey, like, oh, we love Darnell, the black guy. We love Darnell, the black guy. We want the funny black guy who could play basketball to come, but we don't want you to bring the spiritual. We don't want you to bring Christ with you. You got to leave that at the door.
Mm.
So it's kind of like that
Hmm.
old saying, go where you're wanted, not where you're tolerated.
Mm. Hmm.
And at TD, I feel like, I'm wanted there. And I feel like with the public school, I'm only being tolerated.
Yeah, yeah. No, and it's funny you say that. Like, I sort of probably had a similar feeling when I started working in the church world. With my profession, right? Moving into
Mhm,
church charity world, there's just a different vibe to go into work, where, like what you're saying, right? Like, I feel like this is a community I can be myself and be part of, as opposed to, I go to work to do a job and just
mhm,
show just enough to,
mhm,
not ruffle some feathers, because
mhm,
I hold to a faith that they probably think is
mhm.
abhorrent. Um, so yeah, no, I'm assuming it's not something you expected. Like, when you finished everything and you started trying to get into teaching, I presume you expected, okay, I'll have to put in time at a public school. I'll go into the system, and maybe I'll end up, you know, at a job like this. Like, or was I wrong? Were you maybe like, what was your intentions or thought your plan would have been?
The plan was definitely public school. Like, even like from a missional standpoint, like, oh, you're gonna be, salt and light, in the public school, and I applied to like 23 from the time I started like applying, end of January. I applied to like 23 schools, no callback,
Hmm.
no callback. I applied to
But would most of those schools been through the union, so that there would have been some level of, like, the seniority piece playing a huge factor as to who gets callbacks?
well, technically that wasn't the narrative, right? The narrative right now, well, in Ontario, is that they're desperate.
Mm.
Schools are desperate. Like even like, yo, shout out to Stefan, the econ don, um, right? Our research consultant, right? He got a teaching job, and he's not a teacher. So when he told me he got a teaching job, I'm like, okay, so wait, you guys are trying to get anybody, and that was the whole narrative, that there was jobs available. They're
Mm.
hiring, they're hiring, they're hiring, they're looking for this. They're looking for more males, they're looking for more black males, right? So I'm like, okay,
And you
bet.
got
All right.
ghosted.
oh, I'm like, I was like, all right, cool, old man. I'm gonna feel like I feel like I'm a 5-star recruit being recruited by all the top schools, man. Man, it's gonna be great. They're gonna wine and dine me. And look, man, everybody stood me up. Nobody gave me a call back. Nothing.
Wow.
Not even a decline. And I think part of it is, right, when you upload it's a search engine that everybody has to go through, and so when you upload your resume to that search engine, it goes into this like database, where I don't even know, maybe somebody who's listening could kind of clarify what happens when it goes into the database, but I'm assuming it's reading for certain words or phrases, to see if you're saying the right thing or qualifying for the right thing. But I applied to about like 23 jobs, no callback. So I think it just got lost in the database. I really believe that, because honestly, and I'll keep it 100 with you, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm finna play the black card right now and see if I can use my black
like
privilege.
if it gets me a job, I'll take it, right? Like,
So hold on. So okay, so I said, like, let me try to use this black privilege and see what's really cracking. So on my resume, I put my picture, right? So
just to,
so yeah, so I have one of those resumes, because I didn't know that. First, I was looking at people's stuff, and I was like, wait a minute, people are putting pictures on their resume. I was like, I'm like, wait, that could actually work for me. Being a black male, I'm like, yo, this could work for me. Because sometimes I might see Darnell, they'd be like, yeah, could be some white guy. So I said, all right, cool. Could be, right? So I said, okay, let me put my picture. So I put my picture up just to make sure. So when people see, they're like, okay, we need to meet our multiculturalism quota. We got to meet our diversity quota. So we'll take that guy. Right. So I'm hoping for affirmative action to kick in and get me paid. So I put it up there, no callback. No callback. So I don't think it was racism or nothing like that. I think it was just the way how their system works. Nobody's actually looking at the resumes. That's my point. Nobody's actually vetting them. You know what I mean? So that's what I was thinking. But when I applied to the Christian schools, like, I'm emailing a person. Email so and so at this and put this in the sub. So you're actually getting to somebody. So I applied to another Christian school, at the Christian middle school, and they called me back, and I went in for the interview, and it was great. They called me back, so I was just like, oh shoot. And it's one of those things where I guess, it's the way how the system is set up. So but it worked out. Shoot. It worked out to my benefit. So I praise God for that.
Hi, I'm Darnell Samuels. You may remember me from such podcasts as Thanks Coach and the Sixth Sense Report. When Joel and I are not studying for the next episode, we're paying bills for hosting and production. If you want to help us out, you can make a donation of any amount by clicking the Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes. If you broke, don't worry about it. You can subscribe and leave us a review on your podcast catcher. If you did this already, then you can share the show with a friend. Joel, Jeezy, and I appreciate your support. Now back to our regularly scheduled program.
I mean, sovereignty of God to some extent, right? Like, as much as who knows what the catalyst was, right? Like a lot of times, like the database type stuff, they filter out, resumes based on, who knows, maybe you had a small spelling mistake that just caused your resume to get tagged, or who knows, right? Like my point is, a lot of times they use a filtering system to go, find the right ones, because there's potentially way too many applicants. Well, on the other end of the spectrum, I'm not gonna lie, I'm trying to hire someone at my job, and like I'm getting nobody applying, right? Like I've heard a lot of people say it's really hard to hire people right now, like really, really hard.
For what?
For like just in general, like hiring people in general, like is hard. Like there's a labor shortage right now, as opposed to, so it's a bit of a different story than what you're saying, but that's where I'm just sort of, the environment right now is a bit peculiar. Now, the teaching one, I sort of get at the same time, coming through what we went through, how many teachers maybe walked away from the profession because of, they were like, I'll just take retirement. I'm done with this. Like I'm not teaching on Zoom or whatever. Right. Like who knows what the last year has done as to why the market is, as you've said, looking for so many people. So, it's a great story because at the end of the day, sovereignty of God to some extent, because you wouldn't have it any other way. I'm guessing, like,
Well,
from what you've
yes.
said.
Yes, and I'll say this because, like, I guess part of it too is nobody really applies to the Christian school, because hey man, man, I love Jesus, but sometimes his people be doing things not
Yeah.
up to par. So sometimes when you think of Christian school, you think it's somebody's house or somebody's basement. You hear the pay isn't that good. So you get kind of weary about, like, okay, it's a private school, maybe they might not be around for a year, the next year, but that's definitely not the case. I'll say this, you, for anybody who's trying to think about, like, between the Christian school or Catholic public, you can't put a price, for me, you can't put a price on praying for your students and being yourself and witnessing about Christ. Like for some people they can, and you know what? It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, right? You have to pay bills or whatever the case. But for me, I learned a real lesson. Like, yo, for me, I can't put a price on being able to pray for my students, to be able to witness to them, to be able to exegete a text that they're struggling with. I love that. And you can't throw a certain amount at me to leave and go do the opposite and not do it. But sorry, we have a comment. We have a comment from,
We have a great question from our longtime listener. And I'll cheat by answering this question really quickly with a punchline that I like to say that I think answers this question.
Mhm.
I've always said God sanctifies us by everyday means. And to me, that's sort of the answer to this question. Right. So, his question
Sorry,
is,
sir, what's the question?
so right along the bottom there, you can see Tony's comment from YouTube, from our YouTube Buy Me a Coffee listeners who got an early access to this video, watching it live. His question was, Darnell shared a story about the first day, the phone in the juice container. Is every day a test by God to see if our walk with Christ is real? And so, what I was saying, my punchline line is that God sanctifies us through everyday means. And so I would sort of invert his question a little bit to be like, every single thing we go through, God can use for our sanctification and for his glorification.
Yes.
And how we respond to those things is sort of the test, rather than, is every day a test. So I'm spinning his question a little, but Darnell,
No.
what's your take?
I was gonna add something that I've learned as well, like something that I've recently learned, is that praying doesn't take away the bad things that's gonna happen in your day. And I used to think that, and up until like a couple months
Pray
ago.
the bad away.
Yeah, no, like, and it's one of those things, like, I prayed, and, like, Lord, like, keep me out of trouble, keep trouble from coming my way. And trouble would come my way, and something bad would happen, and I'll be like, yo, so I prayed, so what's this all about? But now I'm, the Lord's kind of like showing me, like, kind of like what Tony just said, like, each situation is a situation for us to draw closer to God, become more like Christ. And so when things don't go according to plan, it's still according to plan. And so we have to act accordingly, right? Whether someone's making a funny joke, or something sporadic happens where now you're in a hot seat in a bad situation you didn't plan to be in. But it doesn't mean that your prayers don't work.
Mm-hmm. No, and I mean, I've always thought prayer as much. There's an aspect of, yes, I'm bringing my petitions to God. God's actually using my prayer time to shape me more than my prayer time is to tell God something He doesn't know. So,
Yeah.
um, uh, regarding your experience teaching, obviously you haven't really had to build a curriculum from scratch, but to touch back to the Vince episode, and what he's doing at Aslan Academy. What is your take on the value that he's contributing with your experience, probably jumping into a curriculum as opposed to starting from scratch? Yeah, I'm curious your thoughts.
Oh yeah, no. Oh yeah, definitely. A lot of the stuff that Vince mentioned about his curriculum in the humanities, reading dystopian literature, reading fiction. I'm seeing that play out in the classroom, and I'm hoping, and I've talked to him on the side, for asking him for help on a lot of stuff, and hopefully in the summer, me and him could probably collab to do some stuff, because I got some ideas in regards to curriculum and strengthening curriculum, because in a sense, like even with Sixth Sense Report has been helpful in my teaching. I've already I've assigned it as project work. I already assigned some episodes.
Leveraging previous work by yourself in order to facilitate new projects or new assignments. I love it.
Yeah, well,
well, the funny part is, like, for the listener, I was teasing that you might do that a couple episodes back, but you had already done it, because I think you might have already messaged me that you were doing it. So
yeah, well, actually, it's funny. One of my students brought that up. They're like, "Yo, Joel said this is gonna be homework." Joel, your friend Joel said this is gonna be homework. I was like, "Wait, you've been listening?"
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So the idea is this, right? Like, so the idea is this. Sixth Sense Report is right. We use the science of theology and the science of economics to interpret events that impact Canadians. So that relates to some sociological issues. We looked at whose land is it anyways, Bill C-10, Canada's racist policies, and so what the students would have to do is listen to an episode and critique it and give pushback. So the pushback that they would give, either you can give pushback and use some of the vocabulary and content we've already studied in the unit to critique it, or if you agree with it, just talk about, hey, I didn't know this concept, and draw out the implications of this concept in everyday life. So they had to listen to the 2 episodes, and if agree or disagree with one of them, it's either half a page or a 2-minute to 3-minute audio recording of whether they agree or disagree.
Create a mini podcast.
Yeah. And so the idea, I encourage them to disagree. My hope is that they're disagreeing, because I in all my classes, I don't want my students to agree with me, just like what we do in show. I'm not here trying to get converts to my way of thinking. What I want to do is strengthen their ability to critically think about what they believe. Own your ideas. Like if you're in X camp, own the idea. Don't just jump on the bandwagon because your favorite celebrity's with it. So I got some pretty good feedback from the students, and some good conversations going on. So the content was helpful.
Yeah, and I think if assuming the episodes you've pushed on or you've given them to look at, we've done a good job of being straw man free and steel manning the opposition. I think that's where it really helps you with trying to use it for a project, because we're not just parroting ideas. We're trying to draw those ideas out, talk about why the other side is what it is. So hopefully it works well for you, and you can leverage it to keep your workload at a manageable amount, right? Leverage the things you've already done. Like most teachers, right? Usually they're leveraging last year's curriculum, but
or they're saying, yo, the textbook is my book, right? At university.
yeah,
Oh yeah, the
oh,
textbook's my book.
I'm gonna get paid because you had to buy my book and it's $100.
Yeah, right.
So,
Yeah.
I was gonna say we've got about, we're gonna wrap up here. We got about 10 minutes to go, give or take. And if I was wondering, if there anything around the teaching job you want to leave the listener with, and if not, I was going to say maybe we should transition to just sort of a bit of a look back on the last, 40 episodes, give or take.
Yeah,
or 50.
No, just teaching is not easy. It isn't. For teachers, the job doesn't end when the bell rings, and that's what sometimes as a student, you for a while I've been living life as a student, and now that I'm on the other side, hanging out in the staff room, and the bell rings, and I still got work to do, and I come home and there's still work to do, and I wake up and there's still work to do. So it keeps you busy, but I'll say this: Jordan Peterson said it best, right? All work is stress, all life is stress. So it's better you choose your stress, or your stress will choose you. I like this stress.
Yeah.
I like the stress. And part of the testimony of me at this job, a couple blocks down from that job, from my teaching job, I used to work at a factory, down a couple blocks down from the school, where I used to work night shifts, and it almost killed me. It was terrible. It was like, and that was the experience that drove me to go into teachers college. And so every time I'm on my way to work, I drive past that factory, and
as a reminder.
Every time I see it, I go, peace. Deuces.
Yeah.
Right. I'm moving on. So it's an encouragement. But yeah.
Well, and I don't know, maybe this line isn't totally accurate, but when you were saying what you were saying about, for you, the experience of, I still got work to do. My mind went from like, okay, that's the difference between a job and a career. Right? Because the job, I've got a task. I got to fill my hours. I got to get my stuff done. And a career, for the most part, your responsibilities are like, you have responsibilities, not tasks for the day. Right? And those responsibilities, tomorrow I still got stuff to do. And for the next week and month, and I've got to think about 6 months from now, because I have responsibilities as opposed to tasks.
Yeah. I use the definitions of occupation and vocation, right? The occupation is something that occupies your time. And then a vocation is the actual calling, where we get the word vocab, the call, right? So your occupation can occupy your time from your calling. I feel like I'm in my vocation, and then I give thanks to God for that. Now,
I like that. It's a similar, I think, same concept I was trying to convey with different terms. But
yeah. But as far as the past season, it's been fun. We have a lot more guests than the previous seasons.
Yeah, and I mean, for the listeners, I guess feel free to hit us up, sixcentsereport@gmail.com, or on our social medias. Just regarding, do you want more guests, less guests, maybe recommendations of guests?
I like the guests.
I thought it was good balance, to be honest. I think the balance that we had this year, there was more, like you said, than in the previous. I think I ran the numbers, and it was about 50-50. In terms of episodes with guests and without.
Learning a lot from the guests, and also just from the listeners. Some audio feedback. We can add to the show. Some audio feedback. We've had some feedback behind the scenes. Some kind of curveballs. We were like, is this criticism warranted? So sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Also, help behind the scenes. As you see, Joel and I are taking a break. So if you have the skills to want to, join the Sixth Sense support team behind the scenes, let us know. Social media stuff. We're still trying to build this empire. We're trying to turn 6 cents into 6 million, and then sell it to some private organization and call it a day.
Yeah. That's good. No, it's funny.
Yeah.
Funny you say that though about the guests, because I mean, at the same time, like largely new guests. I mean, we had a couple repeats. IJ comes to mind, although I mean, it was a repeat within the season technically for him, and for the listeners, I think hopefully the extra change stuff, if they've noticed, we've got one episode up, another one coming with Germinal Extra Change episode 2, but the first one with right now exclusive access on Buy Me a Coffee. For the 6 cent tier, you get access to the Extra Change episodes, and that's just for us on those interviews, an extra segment of us just going deeper, and we're gonna do a few more of those as it makes sense. If you think back to the season, is there any episodes that stand out to you? I mean, we didn't really plan to do this, but
No.
or guests that you thought went really well, or just things that throughout the season that you were memorable.
No, on Andre shooting, Bill C10. Andre shooting Bill C10 was helpful. And bringing clarity into what's actually going on with the issue of that bill.
C4, technically Bill C4. Sorry, C10
sorry.
was the internet censorship. C4 was
yes, you're right. Yeah. C4 and just how conversion therapy works, because actually behind the scenes that people were asking me, they're like, oh, is it this, is it that, is it this? And I was like, oh, okay, interesting. Yeah, so definitely Andre shooting was helpful. I always enjoyed the episodes where I could take something away and be like, okay, actually, you know what, this person actually got better, this wasn't a waste of my time.
Yeah, like you're learning as well as interviewing. Is that like?
Yeah, because the questions I have are genuine. I'm like, okay, I'm actually trying to learn from this person and what's going on. So
yeah, I mean, on that note, I think I definitely enjoyed the vaccine conversations that we had with obviously we had Deanna McLeod, but also Rebecca. I thought it was just good to have different people's perspective, having both of those, and then it also sort of brings me back to the, let's say, slightly different perspective that Desmond Cole brought to the conversation, right? And so I think for us to continue to try to steelman the opposition or represent the other side as honestly, and engage the other side honestly, having guests like him who are on the opposite side of the issue to some extent, that we can have a civil discourse. And I mean, I don't that given issue, he wasn't necessarily on the other side, because it was sort of commentary, and he had a lot of good insights on on that the Judge McLeod episode. But more just conversations
Black
like
judges
that
matter.
Yes, black judges matter. So there was a couple, whether it be interviews, but there was a couple episodes that to some extent I wasn't expecting us to do, and we ended up doing them, and I think they largely turned out great. So hopefully the audience thinks so. I think the numbers sort of dictate that as well, that we had a couple episodes that went way beyond our expectations. And grateful for those that have come on the show, but also those that helped us get guests on the show.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Because there are people like behind the scenes kind of pushing that. I also enjoyed the type beast critical race theory 141.
I agree. I felt like I learned a lot even.
Yeah, well actually for me I was kind of like, oh shoot, like I need to, like, even after that episode, if I could be honest with you, there was a lot of gaps I felt like I dropped the ball, and there's areas that I need to go back and study to get sharper at it, because I feel like I didn't do it justice in the way in some of the points I was making, or just new ideas. So I'm definitely still looking into that and studying that myself. So hope maybe we do a follow-up to that.
Yeah, and I mean, the CRT stuff doesn't seem to be going anywhere, anytime soon. So I'm sure whether it be through the school system or other aspects, there's definitely some conversations to be had.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I agree. I don't think it's I think we'll likely come back to it.
Yeah.
But again, we want to give the people what they want. So if there's a book or if there's an aspect of that, the CRT conversation that you want us to hash out or to think about, again, reach out to us, give us your 2 cents, pose the question, and hopefully we can fulfill the listeners' wants and needs.
Yeah, and thanks again, Tony, for all your help and support.
Yes.
I'm not gonna call you a super fan. I'm gonna call you a super fam.
Helps that he was a guest on the show.
Yeah. Well, even before that, this
I
guy,
know.
he's had our back. So, and also all the other listeners as well, who regularly listen and shout us out. Thank you,
Yeah.
for all your support.
And for the rest of the listeners, if you haven't, please like, share, all that stuff to help us get our content out more.
Tell your
Appreciate
mama.
That's
Subscribe,
good.
and also subscribe to us on YouTube, and we're on Instagram. So make sure you check out the Instagram. Success
I'm
makes
not.
change, baby. MB Mac.
Yeah, B Mac.
MB Mac. Yeah. Wherever all the outlets, check us out, guys.
So yeah, check out our show notes page. Yeah, tell us what you think.
Success makes change.
But you heard me? Does that make sense?
Madden and Mitchell Media.